All right, let's get right into it. If you're a multinational leader working in the US on a temporary visa, there's always that big question mark hanging over your head. What's next? Well, today we're going to break down the strategic blueprint for turning that high-level job into US permanent residency. And really, this is about more than just a visa. It's about locking in long-term stability for top-tier talent.
So picture this, you're an executive, maybe a key manager, probably on an L-1A visa, and you're absolutely crushing it for your company's US operations. The thing is, that temporary status has a ticking clock. So how do you make that jump from being a temporary leader to a permanent resident? How do you secure your own future and protect the company's investment in you? That's the billion-dollar question, right? And the answer, luckily, lies in a very specific and streamlined path.
And get this, what if I told you there's a direct route with a success rate that consistently stays above 97%? That's exactly what makes the EB-1C visa so incredibly powerful. So let's unpack why this is widely seen as the most reliable green card pathway out there for multinational leaders.
Okay, first things first, let's frame this the right way. Going for an EB-1C green card isn't just about immigration paperwork. You should think of it as a strategic business move. It's all about ensuring the business keeps running smoothly and, most importantly, retaining that crucial leadership talent right here in the United States. So what is this thing exactly? The EB-1C is an immigrant visa, which means it's a green card. It's designed specifically for multinational managers and executives. But here's the key. It's in the first preference employment category. Think of it as the VIP line for employment-based green cards. And being in that top-tier category comes with some major perks, which we're about to get into. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Who actually qualifies for this? Well, the requirements are pretty clear, and they're broken down into two checklists, one for the company and one for the leader. We're going to start with what the company needs to have in place. First up, the U.S. employer has to check three main boxes. There has to be a real corporate relationship with a foreign company, like a parent company, a subsidiary, or an affiliate. Second, the U.S. side of the business has to have been up and running for at least a year. This is just to prove to the government that it's a stable, legitimate operation and not some kind of shell company.
Now for you, the individual leader, the most important rule is this. You must have worked for the foreign company for at least 1 full year out of the last 3, and it had to be in a high-level role. Then, you're basically transferring to a similar top-level job here in the U.S. And this part is critical. Unlike some other visas, you can't file for this on your own. Your U.S. employer has to sponsor you.
Okay, this slide is a big deal because it covers one of the most closely examined parts of the entire application. What's the difference between a manager and an executive? A manager is generally someone who supervises other professionals or manages a critical department. An executive, on the other hand, is setting the big picture goals and policies. They have way more latitude in decision-making. The key takeaway here is that your job duties are what matter, not the title on your business card.
Now we get to the single biggest advantage of the EB-1C. Honestly, this is the secret weapon. It's what makes this whole pathway so much more efficient than pretty much any other employment-based green card route.
To really appreciate just how big this advantage is, you have to understand the giant headache you get to skip. So, what is this thing called the PERM labor certification that almost everyone else has to deal with?
Well, PERM is this long, complicated process run by the Department of Labor. It involves wage calculations, a massive recruitment campaign to prove there are no qualified U.S. workers available for your job, and then finally filing for certification. It's a whole ordeal. This process alone can easily tack on many, many months, sometimes more than a year, to a green card application.
And here it is, the punchline. The EB-1C pathway, it lets you walk right past all of that. You get to bypass the entire PERM process. The logic from the government side is pretty simple. If you're a high-level executive moving within your own international company, your value is already proven. There's no need to test the U.S. labor market. This saves a massive amount of time and gets rid of a huge hurdle. It's a total game changer.
Okay, so it's efficient, we get that. But is it a sure thing? Is it reliable? Let's take a look at the data, because the numbers here, well, they tell a really convincing story.
This number really does speak for itself. 97.6%. According to the latest data, that was the approval rate for EB-1C petitions. That is an incredibly high number, making it one of the most reliable visa categories in the entire U.S. system. It's largely because the cases are so clear-cut. You have a proven leader backed by an established company.
Now, to put that number in perspective, just look at this comparison. We're looking at the EB-1A visa, which is in the same top-tier priority group. It's for people of extraordinary ability. But because proving that is so subjective, the approval rate drops all the way down to around 67%.
The difference is it's night and day. It really shows how much of a sure bet the EB-1C is if you qualify.
Now, when it comes to the first major step, filing the I-40 petition, you've got a choice to make. You can go the standard route, which takes about 6 to 12 months, or you can choose the express lane. For an extra fee, you can get premium processing, and that guarantees you get a decision in just 45 days. For businesses trying to plan ahead, that kind of certainty is golden.
So, putting all these pieces together, what does the whole journey look like? Let's map out a realistic timeline from the day you start to the day you have a green card in hand.
So once that I-140 petition gets approved, there's one final step if you're already in the U.S. It's filing a form to adjust status, which is just the official term for applying to become a permanent resident. That last part usually takes another 8 to 18 months. So you add it all up, and for most people, the total journey is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 12 to 24 months.
But here's the critical question we have to ask. Is that 1 to 2 year timeline the same for every single person? And unfortunately, the answer is no. There's one huge variable that can totally change the waiting game.
And this is it. It all comes down to your country of birth. Because of per-country visa limits and just incredible demand, applicants born in India and China face major backlogs. It's called a priority date, but you can just think of it as your place in line. And right now, that line is so long that it can add an extra 2 to 3 years of waiting. And that's after your petition has already been approved. But for applicants from every other country in the world, the news is great. The visa numbers for this category are considered current. And that's the magic word. It means there is no extra line, no backlog, no additional waiting. That 12 to 24-month timeline we just talked about, that's a real achievable goal for the vast majority of EB-1C candidates. So there you have it. The EB-1C offers this incredibly clear, efficient, and super reliable path to a green card for top multinational leaders. It helps you dodge the biggest bureaucratic hurdles and gives you a direct route, if you qualify. The most important thing is understanding the rules and knowing which timeline really applies to you. So the only question left to ask is this strategic blueprint the right one for your company's future and for yours?